الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال عز وجل في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we ask for His forgiveness, and we ask for His guidance. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our deeds and the mischief of our souls. We bear witness that none deserves to be worshipped except Allah, and we bear witness that Muhammad is His messenger and servant, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the Quran in the close meaning that He it is who has sent His messenger with a way of life that is truth, to prevail over all other ways of life, and Allah is sufficient as a witness. My brothers and sisters in Islam, I greet you with a greeting of peace, of Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I'd like to ask you before I begin that at the end of the salah there are a few announcements to be made, so please, before you make your sunnah and before you leave, I know some of you do have to go, so I'll try to make it brief. Please just sit quietly and just so that we can go to the few announcements that we have. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us for our patience. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is reported to have said, أيها الناس توبوا إلى الله أستغفروه فإني أتوب إليه في اليوم 100 مرة. O mankind, this hadith, as if you notice, it's addressed not to just the Muslims, but it's addressed to all mankind. أيها الناس, O mankind, make tawbah to Allah and ask His forgiveness. Make tawbah to Allah and ask His forgiveness, for I ask tawbah of Him 100 times a day. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven everything that he has done wrong. He still finds it in himself to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness and to make tawbah 100 times or more a day. And in the month of Ramadan is the best time to make tawbah. But remember that there is just one condition of the tawbah for it to be accepted. The tawbah has to be sincere. This is the condition of tawbah for it to be accepted. The tawbah has to be sincere, with the niyyah, with the intention that you will never again do that, whatever it is you're asking forgiveness for. It's the condition. You see, and we're not talking about mistakes. We're talking about things that we know that we did wrongfully, and you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness for those things. Make sure it is sincere, and make sure you have within the niyyah, within the intention of this tawbah, to never again commit that, do that thing. This is the important part. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says we should ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and tawbah and ask His forgiveness, because He asked forgiveness from Allah more than 100 times. Now, why would the Prophet ﷺ ask forgiveness that many times? And he ﷺ said in another hadith, "Inna ana basharun mithlukum." Surely I am a man like you. I am a person, I am a human like you. Prophet ﷺ said, because he was human. He was human, ﷺ. I am human being like you. And we know our Prophet ﷺ, he was born from a woman, of course. He lived, he ate, he died. He did all the things that human beings do.
True.
But he ﷺ was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring us this message. We can do, my brothers and sisters in Islam, la ikraha fi din. We as human beings, we can do whatever we want. No one forces us to fast or make salah or to do this or to do that. We can do whatever we want. This is the way of human being. We can do whatever we want. No one can stop you, right? You can leave the masjid. We can go places. We can do any number of things that we want to do. Nobody can stop you, right? But the important thing is that most believers, the believer doesn't need something or someone to stop them from doing wrong. The believer stops themselves. You see. And so this is key. That voice in your head that says, don't do this or don't do that, it's not the right thing to do. Sometimes you should listen, right? The believer stops themselves. Because we all make mistakes. Make no mistake, but we all make mistakes. But Ramadan is a great time to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a great time to ask for tawbah. It's a great time to ask for forgiveness. We should not let this month go by without making sure that we, ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, right? A great time to ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi." That whoever fasts the month of Ramadan with faith and hope for a reward from Allah, all their previous sins will be forgiven. وصدق الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. صلوا على النبي. Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan, this is an important time. Sometimes we take it lightly. It comes and goes every year, and every year we do the same thing. Day in, day out, day in, day out. And after about the third, fourth day, your body get used to the eating cycle. You get used to eating in the morning, and going without food, and then at night, you start getting hungry, close to that time. The body adjusts. So it's easy to fall into a cycle, into a pattern and not pay attention to the important things. This month of Ramadan, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, let this month be different. Let this year be different. From the beginning of Ramadan, we have been talking about change, about making a change, about doing something different than you did before. Because we know that, as they said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing every time but expecting a different result. If you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. You see. So make this year different. Why this year? Because you're alive and able to do it. How many of us were with us last year that are not with us this year? We're alive and well and we are able to make that change. من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Remember this. Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan with faith, iman, and hope for a reward, all their previous sins will be forgiven. I mean, who doesn't want their previous sins to be forgiven? I mean, I want to hold on to these sins. I like them. No, everyone wants their sins to be forgiven. We don't want them. You see. Because all your previous sins will be forgiven, my brothers and sisters in Islam, this gives us a chance to change. It gives us a chance to make things different for ourselves, for our own selves, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need anything, any portion of our ibadah. Allah doesn't need it. If you don't do it, it doesn't take anything away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we do it, we are the ones that we do the act, and we are the ones that are recipient of the benefit of the act. But it doesn't add or take away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not one iota. Absolutely nothing. So even though we do it, we're doing it for our own selves. So be selfish. Do it for your own self. Do that act of ibadah because you are the one that are going to get the reward. So my brothers and sisters in Islam, this is the time for change. Change habits. Change mannerisms. Begin to do good. Begin to forgive one another. This is important. If we have enough will, if we have enough will, for example, if we smoke, to not smoke during the daylight hours of Ramadan, then we should have enough will to not smoke at night either. And which brings me to a point that someone asked me to mention today. It was going to be part of my announcement, but I'll mention it now. There are some of us brothers, we smoke. And may Allah give you the strength to stop that bad habit. But we smoke right outside the masjid. Astaghfirullah, you throw the cigarette butts right in front of the house of Allah. That shows how much respect you have for this place. It is a shame. We should be ashamed of ourselves that you don't respect the house of Allah that much to throw your butt in the trash can somewhere else. And you know who you are. I don't need to point you out. So please, my brothers, let's not do that. Because this is not your house. Because I guarantee you, when Allah knows best, you probably don't throw the butts of the cigarette in your home, on the floor of your home. Why do it in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? May Allah give us the strength to be able to stop this habit and to do well. With this chance of change, my brothers and sisters in Islam, with this chance of change, and after all, one of the absolute purposes, reasons of fasting in the month of Ramadan, of doing anything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is for us to enter Jannah. Everything that we do now, while we may not see the reward of it in this world, there are some things that inshallah you will. But we may not see the rewards of everything we do now. But the idea is to accumulate enough good deeds, to have our scale of good deeds, our scale of ibadah heavy enough that on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His grace and mercy allow us to enter Jannah. This is the whole purpose. Otherwise, why do we fast? Why do we pray? Why do we give sadaqah on our zakat? Why do we make hajj? Some of us made hajj last year. Why do we do these things if it's not because we are seeking a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You see, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and I'm sure you have heard the hadith before, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Inna fil jannati babun yuqalu lahu Rayyan. In Jannah, there is a gate that is called Rayyan. يدخل منه الصائمون يوم القيامة. Those who fast will enter it on the day of Jannah, on يوم القيامة, on the day of standing. لا يدخل منها غيرهم, and none other than them will enter it. Brothers and sisters, this is the purpose of doing something for the sake of Allah. There's a gate in paradise called Ar-Rayyan. Those who fasted will enter through it on the day of resurrection, and none except them will go through it. Rawah al-Bukhari. So after all, my brothers and sisters in Islam, this is the purpose of our fast. One of the purposes of our fast. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love us. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, and this is one of His attributes, al-Wadud. We want, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love us, because this is the ultimate goal, you see. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Allah said in this hadith Qudsi, إِذَا أَحَبُّ اللَّهُ عَبْدُ نَادَى جِبْرِيلٌ. When Allah loves a servant, He calls to Jibreel. Allahu Akbar. يا جبريل إن الله يحب فلان فيحبه جبريل. He says, Jibreel, Allah loves so and so love him too. Then Jibreel begins to love that person. Then Jibreel alayhi salam, he calls to all the inhabitants of heaven, and he says, Inna Allah ta'ala yuhibbu abdah yuhibbu abdahu fahibbuhu fayuhibbu ahla as-sama. Allah loves so and so of His servants, so you should love them too. Then the inhabitants of heaven, يعني al-malaika, the angels, love that person. This is the purpose of everything that we do. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. It is narrated in the books of hadith that there is a story of a man who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a very, very long life to, from the people of old. And the Sahabas, radiallahu ta'ala ajma'een, they went to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and they said to him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we can't compete. We don't have long lives today, and we can't compete with this person in good deeds. What can we do, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? What can we do to compete with such a person? And when they asked this question to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. When they asked this question because of their concern to do good, I mean, just imagine for a second, you ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a question, and because of your questioning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals something in the Quran. Allahu Akbar. To be the person who asks the question, I mean, that is a great honor. To know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears you and understands your concern to the point where He subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a surah in the Quran. This is a huge honor. A huge honor. When they asked this question to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr." In these 5 verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains one of the greatest blessings, my brothers and sisters, and miracle that He has given to us. Such blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed an entire surah to illustrate this. And we know what this is. Allah says we have revealed it in Laylatul Qadr. And because we know, and we've been saying all month, that we know the Quran was revealed in Ramadan. Shahr Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. We know this, right? But on what day? Allah specifies a particular day in the month of Ramadan in which He revealed those first verses to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And He prefers this day to all others. On that day, Jibreel alayhi salam revealed the first verses to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam of the Quran today. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. First verses of the Quran. Can we get the brother a seat, please, so that he can? We should take care of our elderly, my brothers and sisters. Please get him a seat. One of the reasons why Laylatul Qadr is holy is because the Quran came down in it. It's because the Quran was revealed for the first time on this night. Right? But what is Qadr, my brothers and sisters in Islam? If you would allow me, there are 4 meanings. It is said that there are 4 meanings of Qadr. First of all, it's might and sanctity. A night that is blessed. A night that is blessed. It also means to multiply, to have a set measurement. This night is multiplied many times, as we know from the surah. Allah mentions that this night is better than 1,000 months. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. That this night is better than 1,000 months. I mean, some of us are approaching 1,000 months of life. It's equal to about 83 years and 4 months. Some of us are approaching that age. And we know how difficult it is. How many things have we gone throughout our lives during that period of time. But to observe worship on this one night, it is as if you have been worshiping for all that time. You see. It also means restrictedness. It is called this because there is no space for the angels on the earth. Right? تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. The angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the angels to the earth. Right? All the angels and Jibreel, the spirit, they descend. Right? And it is said, that the angels, they are so numerous on the earth on that day, the human mind can't fathom the number. You can't imagine. You can't imagine the number of angels that come down to the earth on that day. You see. And it's also the night. And there's an interesting point to make about the angels. It is said, how do we know that the night before was Laylatul Qadr? And there have been a number of things, out there about how we know what the night before was Laylatul Qadr. But one of the things that is very noticeable, that during the night of Laylatul Qadr, it is such a quiet night. It is a very, very quiet night. You don't hear dogs barking. You don't hear anything. But you have to be up, you have to be awake to realize that. You have to be up doing some form of ibadah to realize that. It is such a quiet night. You hear nothing outside. And it is said by the ulama that the reason it's such a quiet night is because the angels descend and they take up all the space on earth to the point where sound doesn't travel. They just take up all the known space on earth. And it's extremely quiet. For those of who have experienced it knows exactly what I'm referring to. On this night, there is also divine destiny and predestination, right? This meaning is also valid because what happens on Laylatul Qadr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فِيهَا يُفْرَغُ كُلُّ أَمْرٍ حَكِيمٍ أَمْرًا مِنْ عِنْدِنَا. On this night, every divine design is made and announced. No, brothers and sisters, it does not mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't know what's going to happen, but this is the night that the angels find out what's going to happen. This is the night that they find out what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already planned. Who is going to live? Who is going to die? Who will be born? Whose risk will be increased? Whose risk will be decreased? Right? Who is going to on this night? The angels find out about this. You see. And the surah continues, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. What would let you know what Laylatul Qadr is? And it's a rhetorical question, as we know. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. Right? It is better than 1,000 months. To observe this one night is better than 1,000 months. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. The angels and the Spirit come down in it by permission of their Lord with every decree. Right? وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. And as we know, Jibreel alayhi salam also comes down on this night, and that is a big deal, right? It's a very, very big deal that Jibreel alayhi salam comes down, right? And the presence of Allah, of the angels on the earth, signifies the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concludes the surah by saying, "Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr." Peace in it until the coming of Fajr. And this is also referred to the silence that we hear or don't hear during that night because of the presence of the angels on the earth, right? Whenever there are angels on the earth, of course, there is peace. And lastly, I would just like to add, my brothers and sisters, we should know by now that we have entered into the last 10 days of Ramadan. And it happened, it's in the blink of an eye. It happened so fast. And it reminds me in some portions of the Quran, if we pay attention to what's recited in Taraweeh, you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment, will come baqtatan, you know, like it is so fast in the blink of an eye. And you know, subhanAllah, Ramadan, we were just talking about it starting. And here we are within the last 10 days. It comes and goes so fast. And Aisha radiallahu anha قالت كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دخل عشر شد ميزاره وأحيا ليله وأيقظ أهله. Aisha radiallahu anha reports that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to tighten his belt, meaning he used to get serious and pray all night, and he used to wake his family for prayers. Rawahu al-Bukhari. And Aisha radiallahu anha also reports that she asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the interest of time, she asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam if we observe Laylatul Qadr, and this is our practical advice for all of us. If we are able to observe Laylatul Qadr, what dua should we make? Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What dua should we make if we observe Laylatul Qadr? Again, this is conditional. In order to observe Laylatul Qadr, you have to be awake. You know, we can't spend the night sleeping. You have to be up doing some form of ibadah. Right? Reading Quran, Salat, some form of ibadah. And if you were to observe the night, Aisha radiallahu anha asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what dua should we make? Practical advice, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, you should say, Allahumma innaka al-afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Allahumma innaka al-afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Very, very short, very, very meaningful dua. Allahumma innaka al-afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Qulu ameen. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله وذكر الله أكبر أقيموا الصلاة